Aloha mai kākou, o wau iho no o ka leo lani hano hano. I am the eldest child of Native Hawaiian parents who raised us on the hills of Makakilo under the shadow of Palehua. But first, before I take you to my Moʻokūʻauhau Ohana Bubble project, I want to introduce you to a beautiful kumu by the name of Kekela Miller, who lives in a tiny little town in Laie. She's going to talk to you about Hoʻikapiko. It is an intuitive way in which Native Hawaiians connect with each other through perspective and intuitive natures. Mahalo and aloha.
E aloha mai no kākou. When we went through this pandemic, it really made us do Ohana Bubble because we were home. We were all at home. And it caused us to talk to our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. It allowed us to form this Ohana Bubble. And I like that bubble because it allowed us to become more appreciative of each other. And it made us become more appreciative of the things that we have. And so I leave that with all of you and say mahalo ya'oko, aloha mai, aloha.
When I developed this module, I thought of my parents. They are both in their 70s and at high risk for COVID infection. They are a part of my Moʻokūʻauhau, and in the Hawaiian language, it means family genealogy. They belong to a long line of descendants, and it is up to me to protect them. Why is it important to learn about your genealogy? Well, so you know who you are and where you are from. It is also important to create an understanding that the survival of your genealogy is up to its members to know how to protect it. So, creating an Ohana bubble that can be shared with the entire family is how you can get everyone safely protected. It isn't enough, though, to just share it. The family should post the Ohana bubble up on the wall near the front door, so it becomes a visual reminder that when we protect our family, we protect all families against COVID-19. Is it enough for only one family in the community to learn about the Ohana bubble? Or does the protection of my Ohana bubble against the coronavirus contribute to a more just, healthy, and beloved communities from Ko'olauloa to Waianae throughout Hawaii and beyond? To answer this, I went to Tutu Kawena Pukui for ancient wisdom from the Olelo No'eau. Kukuia mau I ke awakea, which means a torch burning in daylight, is a symbol for the descendants of a chief and affirms that the family is sacred. And we must protect our genealogies from all harm. When we safeguard our beloved Ohana, we in essence protect all of humanity. I get super excited when students ask me why they have to learn something or why are we doing this. It gives me a chance to teach them something they might not know or might not understand. So why are we doing this COVID-19 research? Well, it's very important to learn from reliable sources, such as from our Kupuna and medical experts. Our Kupuna have their life experiences to share, while medical experts spend their lives learning how to better take care of us when we get sick. Collecting important health data from our family members assists health practitioners to better take care of our families. And by knowing our family wellness stories, medical experts are better prepared to help us successfully when there are health challenges. When we create strong kinship and build trust between the Ohana and health professionals, this bond contributes to a more just and healthy community. As part of your learning in this module, you will create your own 4-generation genealogy. On this fun exercise, you will learn about specific health problems that your family had over the years, thus helping you to better protect yourself against possible diseases today. By knowing what type of diseases your family had in the past and for generations before, helps your Ohana to better protect against COVID and other health problems. How many of us were lost when listening to the Center for Disease Control when COVID-19 protocols were given on the television or over the radio? Families like mine, who were not exposed to some of these words, were a little confused at first. So when developing new levels of learning, the vocabulary can be difficult, and sometimes words act as a barrier when trying to educate the most marginalized or at-risk members at home, in the community, and at school. This glossary simply represents the definitions used in the module. The more familiar you become with these words, the easier it will be to explain the purpose and importance of the Ohana bubble to your family. Hawaiian words are central to the theme of this module. Please repeat after me. Kaiaulu, which means community. Kupuna, elders. Moʻokūʻauhau, genealogy. The values of Ohana or family is what this module aims to protect. To create your genealogy or Moʻokūʻauhau Ohana bubble of your beloved Ohana, it is important to make sure to have the following supplies handy: 3 highlighters of any color, a black pen, and a piece of printed paper. My Ohana is still growing, so I really needed to be careful to include everyone. I believe I called my parents and siblings a few times to get the ages and the birth order correct. Now that the diagram was complete, I had to get serious and switch from a daughter or family member into a COVID-19 CSI investigator. Why? Because severe illness from COVID-19 can infect anyone at any age, but people with underlying medical conditions or comorbidities are at increased risk for severe illness that can lead to hospitalization, admission into the intensive care unit, intubation or mechanical ventilation, and possible death. Now that the Moʻokūʻauhau is in front of you, think about the health status of every person on the diagram. Do any of them have health issues now? Could they have health issues later in life because of their genetics, lifestyle choices, or the location or place they are living? For some, it is a combination of things. Research suggests that males, elder kupuna, and those who are frontline and essential workers are at the highest risk for COVID infection. Is there someone in your family that might be male or elderly? Anyone working in the hospital, driving a bus, or local retail sales clerk? If they are, they may be at high risk for the COVID infection. This is why it is so important to talk story and get interviews and casual conversations with family members about these health concerns. To prepare for my interview with my Ohana, I used the information on this slide to craft some of my interview questions. Keep in mind the setting you want to create and how you might utilize the information on this slide to drive the conversation. Listen intently to elders and parents. In my interview, my mother identified that she has diabetes and my father has a weak heart and COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease that causes airflow blockage in the lungs. To make sure I properly identify their comorbidities, I wrote a D for diabetes near the picture of my mother and an H with the letter COPD next to my father. It is important to check that the symbols you choose to document the health conditions of Ohana members match those outlined on this slide. I still wondered why some ethnic groups and workers are at higher risk for COVID-19 infections. The information is alarming. Services provided by our family members make up 80% of the needed support to keep our state running. Thus, it is imperative that we create an extra layer that protects the service members who are frontliners and essential workers because they are sometimes under great stress, dealing with wage and ethnic disparities. Some are in low-paying jobs with no health benefits and faced with ethnic as well as linguistic challenges. Our families and the work they do open services that are vital to keeping all of us safe, healthy, and productive during this pandemic. When creating the Moʻokūʻauhau diagram, I wondered why males and older people seem to be at risk for COVID-19 infections. The research showed that more men than women were at higher risk because men are more likely to smoke, disregard CDC protocols like avoid crowds, wear masks, social distance, wash hands, and seek medical care. Cultural images of masculinity also contribute to roles men play in leadership and how they are represented as public health and wellness role models. When our Kupuna elders experience life-changing health issues, it is often difficult to know their level of care. But age is the strongest predictor of risk, with a higher possibility of dying after COVID-19. Older people tend to have more comorbidities and weaker immune systems. Our Hawaii data also shows that our kupuna bubbles are not 100% secure. While people under the age of 60 make up 80% of the COVID cases and 16% of the deaths, people over 60, although only 20% of the reported COVID cases, it is this age group where we find more than 80% of the deaths. Sadly, data also shows the gender gap continues to increase with age, putting older men like Dad, my dad, at higher risk for COVID. My Ohana welcomed the arrival of 2 new babies, and it dawned on me that COVID-19 affects different people in different ways. With infants and elders to consider, it is very important to remind our Ohana that asymptomatic individuals show no symptoms and yet can infect the Ohana, causing mild to severe illness that can lead to hospitalization, intubation, and death. Symptoms may appear 2 to 14 days after exposure to the virus. So check the CDC website for updates. Also, fever or chills, cough, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, fatigue, muscle or body aches, headaches, new loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, nausea or vomiting, and diarrhea. If someone shows any of these signs, seek emergency medical care immediately. If they have trouble breathing, persistent pain or pressure in the chest, they have new confusions, maybe inability to wake or stay awake, and of course, blushing lips and blueness in the face. Call your medical provider for all these symptoms that are severe and concerning. With this wealth of knowledge to guide me, I took my Moʻokūʻauhau sketch and felt very excited to teach my Ohana about the COVID response information. When the interview was done, I completed the data collection table number 1. This clearly provided me with a visual analysis of my Ohana. I typed the age, name, ethnicity, and the sex of all of the people in my Ohana. I used the sketch to assist me. I started with my Kupuna elders at the top, followed through to my parents, siblings, and finally my nieces and nephews at the bottom. I was reminded by one of my siblings that their nieces and nephews, as well as their aunt and uncle, lived with them too. Should they be added to the Moʻokūʻauhau and listed in the data collection table? My answer was yes. Everyone living in your home is in your Ohana bubble. The Ohana you want to learn about and protect must be added to the Ohana bubble diagram. When you plot onto the data collection table number 2, again, look at the age and the group clusters into specific sets. Count up the males and females and plot them into the correct cluster. Analyze the various comorbidities and health disparities identified by family members from your personal interviews. Congratulations! You have now gotten to the end of the module. But first, did you complete your Moʻokūʻauhau and share only what you and your Ohana feel comfortable sharing with your teachers and classmates? Second, review the glossary slides and readings. Third, make sure to click on the 10 questions above to start the quiz for this module. If you have any questions or concerns about COVID-19, please contact the friendly professionals at Waianae Comprehensive at 808-697-3170. E ho'i ka piko. Return to your center to ground and protect yourself and your Ohana bubble from the COVID-19 virus. When you care and protect your Ohana with an informed perspective, you protect all of humanity. Kukui a mau i ke awakea. When we protect our elders, frontline and essential workers, and the weak and marginalized amongst us, we become the bright burning light today and the legacy lights that steward our tomorrows. I bet you enjoyed creating your own Moʻokūʻauhau and Ohana bubble. Thank you so much for your participation. It is up to you and me to protect everyone that we love. It is up to you and I to make sure that we communicate all of the information for our beloved community. Mahalo.